In this morning's shir, we're going to Be'ez Hashem discuss Haseba, the reason for Haseba, the tzura, at least part of it, the tzura, how Haseba looks, and some of the protei dinim of Haseba. The reason why we eat the matzah, drink the dalat kaisis b'haseba. So it's mavur and the Gemara and the Kuf Ches, the Gemara and the Rishonim over there. The Gemara says matzah you eat b'haseba, moru you don't eat b'haseba. So right there Rashi explains because matzah you're eating to show chayris, so you eat it b'haseba. Moru is to show avdus, you don't eat it b'haseba. Then the Gemara speaks about the dalat kaisis, which the first of the dalat kaisis, the last of the dalat kaisis. There as well, the Gemara discusses which of the two are we coming to show chayris. So, when we eat the matzah as well as the dalat kaisis, it's behaseba, to feel chayris, to feel kingly. We came out of Mitzrayim. To bring it out a drop more. The Rambam says, the Rambam Perek Zayin of Chametz Matzah, the Lashon HaRambam, B'chol dor v'dor, we say it in the Agada, the Rambam has a little bit of a different girsa that we say. B'chol dor v'dor chayiv adam laharis esatzmai. Every generation, a person is supposed to laharis, to show, not just lirois, to feel, to know that you went out of Mitzrayim, but he actually supposed to show laharis, to demonstrate, to show that you went out of Mitzrayim. Laharis esatzmai kilu ba'atzma yotza atom ashibud Mitzrayim. A person is supposed to show that he went out of Mitzrayim. Says the Rambam, since a person is supposed to show that he went out of Mitzrayim, lefikach kishesoyed adam balayla azeh, you have to eat b'haseba, which means haseba is facheres. Like we saw, it's a Gemara and Rashi and the Rishonim facheres. But it's not just that you should feel as a ben chayrim to feel cheres, but you're actually demonstrating for yourself, for other people, you're showing cheres by leaning. Not always does a king eat b'haseba, but somebody who eats b'haseba means he's kingly, he's cheres. So Mela we eat b'haseba to show cheres, not only to feel cheres, but to show cheres. What's the tzura of Haseba? The reason is to show chayris. What's the tzura? So the basic tzura we know Haseba is to be leaning. The Mishnah in the beginning of Arab Psachim says, "Afilu ani shebi Yisrael yochel ache Yosef." Even a poor person, you have to eat in the Seder. To eat this, you have to eat b'haseba. Rashi says, "What's lo yochel ache Yosef?" Rashi says, Ache Yosef b'mita. When you do Haseba b'mita, I don't know if dafka a bed, if you don't have a bed, you have a nice chair, comfortable, you do Haseba b'mita. And Rashi says, Kiderech b'nei chayrim zeichel acheres b'mita, in a bed, v'al hashulchan, and to have a table. So which means when you're doing Haseba, not only should you be leaning in a bed, you should be leaning, but you should also have a table. Why do you have to have a table for Haseba? Haseba, we understand, means you lean to the left. Why do you have to have a table? Now, obviously, a person has a table because when you're eating, it's practical to have a table. But that's what Rashi is saying. What does that have to do with Haseba? Haseba, you have to lean in a bed. And if somebody's talented and he's able to do Haseba with the matzah and he holds it without the table, are you yoytze Haseba? It seems that part of Haseba is to have a table, ala shulchan. So Reb Chaim in Stencil says, yes, from Rashi's Mavur, that part of Haseba is not only to be leaning, but you should have a table as well. What, to be Masber, you could say Svaris, he doesn't say why, but at least is Mavur that you need a table. And with that he explains why it's the din in Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch says, "Be'as tafayin beis sif beis yisadu shulchana yafa bekelim nom." A person should set up his table beautifully, nice kelim, nice utensils. It should look beautiful. Din in the Shulchan Aruch. The Goyen says the reason is for chayris. The Shulchan Aruch Rav says zeichel chayris, but the Goyen says it's to actually have chayris. You set up your table beautiful. You don't find that there's a din that for Pesach by night you should get a new svarm shank, maybe you should get a new chandelier, paint your walls beautiful. There's a din when you set your table, you should set it b'kelim noam. Bring out all the beautiful dishes that you have. So says Reb Chaim, the reason is that since the table is part of the Heseba, part of the Chayris is the table, therefore making the table beautiful enhances the Chayris, enhances the Heseba. If the table wouldn't have to do with Heseba, with Chayris, so what does it have to do to make your table beautiful? The Teretz says it's part of the Heseba, part of the Zeichel Chayris, so it's part of the Chayris. So therefore, the din is that a person should try to enhance his table, make it as nice, as beautiful as possible, put beautiful kelim, dishes, to have a better, a more mohodidiger Chayris.
Achila has to be for the acheres. When you eat the matzah by the table, that's all the chelik of the achila.
You want to say that anything gets included in whatever is part of the achila. It happens to just be the achila is by a table.
Yeah.
So I guess let's move on to the next part to see the din of haseba, and we'll see if a taka is like that haseba is the achila. Maybe as we're going to get to that also. So let's get to this thing. We'll see if it's still applicable. What you want to know, you want to say that could be the din of eating by when he says al shulchan is because since haseba is when you eat and you eat by a table. And what's if let's say you don't eat? You don't. It's easier. Let's see when the din haseba, if it's in the achila or not, and then we'll see taka if these the dan of the table. But that much we see. Then Rashi says al shulchan for whatever reason, but al shulchan is part of the haseba, and therefore that's the din of the Shulchan Aruch. Sif beis yisad shulchanai, set it up with nice kelim. Now let's go into the din of haseba. Haseba is while you eat, you should be leading. How are Chachamim mesaken the din of haseba? This din, this mitzvah of haseba, did they say there's a mitzvah of haseba, a mitzvah by itself, a mitzvah derabanan, to eat or whatever you do by haseba? It happens to just be when do you do the haseba? You do it b'shas achila the matzah, b'shas the shtiyas talat kaisis, but it's its own entity of haseba. When do you do it by the achila? Or when they came and they were masakin to do haseba, how were they masakin to do haseba? They were masakin when you eat matzah, your achilas matzah should be in an oifen of haseba. Is haseba its own mitzvah, and when do you do it by achila? Or it's not its own mitzvah, they plugged it in, but not just they plugged it in, they said the mitzvah, the iraisa of achilas matzah should be in an oifen of haseba. To illustrate and to bring out these two tzadim, a nafkamina ladina, if somebody ate the matzah without haseba, if you ate the matzah without haseba, were you yoytze the achilas matzah? Haseba, you for sure weren't yoytze. You didn't do haseba, so you don't have haseba. But were you yoytze the achilas matzah? If the mitzvah is its own mitzvah to do haseba, but they said, when should you do this haseba? When? Do it b'shas achila. So if you ate without haseba, you makayim the mitzvah achilas matzah. They didn't change the mitzvah achilas matzah. They just said, when is the time to do haseba? Do it by achilas matzah. That so being the case, if you ate matzah shaloi b'haseba, you makayim mitzvahs da'iraisa of achilas matzah. But you were not makayim haseba. Furthermore, since you were makayim achilas matzah, that's it. You missed it. You lost out on the haseba. There's no way to fix it because you can eat matzah again and again. You were makayim the mitzvah achilas matzah. and you can't do it over. Just like me'inyin, le'inyin, in Dalad Minim, if you take a non-Muhudr Dalad Minim, you no longer can take another Dalad Minim to be Makayim the mitzvah, even if it's more Muhudr, because you were Yoitza. So you were Yoitza already, the Achilas Matzah, you want to go and you want to now eat again Matzah for that Seba, you were Yoitza Matzah, it's Achila Ba'alma. You have maybe the Achila of Kol Shiva, but not the mitzvah you're Makayim already. So that's one side, that the mitzvah of a Seba separately. We're going to get to the Machaber, and we're going to get to it. Very good. That's one side that the mitzvah is a separate mitzvah. Yeah, very well said. The Machaber Siv Zayin. We're going to get to it in a minute. You're not Yoitza. That's one side. I'm sorry, you're Yoitza the Achilas Matzah, but you're not Yoitza obviously that Seba. If you learn that when the Chachamim were masakin Haseba, they said it's a oifen how to eat a matzah behaseba. So if you eat the matzah shaloi behaseba, you not only were you not yoytza haseba, you weren't yoytza achilas matzah as well. So we have two tzadim: is the mitzvah by itself of haseba, but when should you do it b'shas achilas matzah, or it's a mitzvah that's explained and said and musukin in the mitzvah of achilas matzah. Yes, Morty.
So just for those that hold that you also have a seva by the kaisis. Or if you were yetzer the first or the second kais, and then you didn't have it with the matzah, like how does that work? If you yetzer haseba with the first kais, but not with the matzah, so are you yetzer haseba by itself, or?
You mean on the side that haseba is part of the mitzvah, or not part of the mitzvah? It's own mitzvah.
It's own mitzvah, but you have to also do it by the kaisis.
So if it's its own mitzvah, I would, but you didn't do the full aseba. You want to know if you weren't yoytze b'chlal aseba. Is it one big mitzvah which do it a bunch of times? Each one is a mitzvah by itself. I don't know. But an interesting point. If you learn aseba is a separate mitzvah, and they set times when to do it. So if you did one part, yes, and one part not. Will you yoytze aseba one time, but these 5 different asebas in the seder, or they said there's a mitzvah of aseba and do it in all different times, and it's one mitzvah. Interesting shaila. This shaila the Briskerov declares in a sefer on the Rambam, and he says it's a machlokes Shechaynu. It's a machlokes Shechaynu. The Rambam, which we just said before, the Lashon HaRambam, when the Rambam says Lefikach Kishasoyed, the Rambam says when you do a seba, you're supposed to do a seba Pesach by night. When you eat and when you drink, you should do a seba. Says the Rambam. When exactly? By Dalet Koises, by Matzah. But it would seem from the Rambam that it's a separate mitzvah. The Rambam says, Lefikach kishasoyed Adam, you do it by a seba, derech cheres. And when you do it, l'chol echad ve'echad, men chayiv ladies lishtes b'laylas arba koises. It's a time, but the din is Pesach by night has seba, which would seem that it's a separate mitzvah. Furthermore, the Rambam says that the Rambam says that a seba is not only by Dalet Koises and by Achilas Matzah. The Rambam says that a seba is really by the whole Suda, and that's brought in the Ramah. The Ramah says the Lashon HaRamah Uletchatchila Yesef Kol HaSuda, which means if you learn that the din haseba is a din in achilas matzah, so how's it possible to say that you should eat kol hasuda, you should eat haseba? How's that possible? Haseba was mesukin by matzah, by dalet koises. If you see there's a hiddur to eat the whole suda behaseba, al karcha haseba is a mitzvah by itself. When should you do it? You should do it by matzah, do it by dalet koises. However, since it's a mitzvah by itself, there's a hiddur also to do it by the rest of the Suda as well. So the Shittas HaRambam is that a seva.
Even if you say it's a mitzvah by itself, it could be made of the matzah has to be done with that other mitzvah. If you didn't do it, you're not doing to the matzah at all.
No, I want to understand. But if you learn it's a mitzvah by itself, so it happens to be when should you do it? You should do it by matzah. And if you eat the matzah shaloi behaseba, you weren't makayim haseba, but they never changed the mitzvah of matzah. The mitzvah of matzah you makayim. What comes out of the Rambam? If somebody ate shaloi b'haseba halacha ulamaisa, you makayim the mitzvah of matzah. You weren't makayim haseba, and b'meila you have to just move on. You can eat matzah again, but you can no longer do the mitzvah's matzah b'haseba. Me'idach, the Rosh says lahalacha if somebody eats matzah shaloi b'haseba, a person is not yotze the mitzvah achilas matzah. You have to eat over them. You have to eat the matzah again. The Rosh, what's like Rabbi Shia mentioned before, the Shulchan Aruch paskins like that. Ladina, that if a person, the Mechaber at least says that if a person ate matzah shaloi b'haseba, is lo yatza. Kol mi shetzarech haseba im achal lo shasa b'lo haseba lo yatza. You have to eat it and drink again. The Ramah happens to be argues, but for a different reason. The Ramah says that could be b'zuman haseba. You b'chlal don't eat haseba. So the Rosh says that if you ate matzah shaloi b'haseba, you're not yotze. State in the Rosh that the Rosh understood that the mitzvah of haseba is said in the mitzvah of matzah. But even that if you eat matzah shaloi b'haseba, you're not yotze. Yes. If I remember correctly, I think the Rosh actually only says it by matzah, but like the Shulchan Aruch, when it brings the kol mishatzarech haseba, is the same thing also. V'lo shasa, the dalat kaisis, you're not yotze. It happens to be that the Rosh, I believe, is speaking about eating the matzah shalei b'haseba that you're not yotze. Tosfos, what we have here, machlokes rishonim, Tosfos is mesupik, but Tosfos' suffix is by dalat kaisis. Cool. V'chol dalat kaisis tzrichem haseba v'tzarech ian em shakach v'lay hesev em yachsev v'yishtes. He's specific about the dalat kaisis. Could be dalat kaisis is separate because you only have to have two, so maybe you may be yotze. So we have a machlekes rishonim ladina. If somebody eats matzah shaloi b'haseba, were you yotze the achilas matzah or not? The Shulchan Aruch paskins that what? The Shulchan Aruch paskins that you're not yotze. It's interesting. The Ramah says that there's a din to eat haseba aletchatchila, which we mentioned before. Aletchatchila yesef kol hasuda. There's a hider to eat the whole suda b'haseba. So really, how do the two things stem together? If you go with the Rosh, that the Rosh says that it's part of the mitzvah of achilas matzah, and therefore, if you don't eat the matzah b'haseba, you're not yotze. So then it's not shaykh to say that l'chayr. It's not shaykh to say that you need a seba on the rest of the meal. Haseba was said by matzah by dalat kaisis. So how does the Ramah say that the rest of the suda you should eat by seba also?
You say what he said. He said that there's not a separate mitzvah, but they made it likuva by matzah and by yain. It's not a separate mitzvah. They masakre likuva by matzah and yain. Those are the ikri achilas chayros. Those are the ikri machon which is the sample of chayros.
Are you saying that both are true?
Yeah.
There are those that learn like that.
Meaning it's a separate mitzvah. It's not a separate mitzvah. They made it likuva in a certain machon.
So it means they did both. Sai, it's a separate mitzvah, and Sai, they also said it's ma'akev in matzah. There are others that learn like that. The Briskerov learns clearly it's a machlekes rishonim, it's either or. There are those that learn, and you're right. If you learn it's both, then enachanami taka. So then you also have yoichel kol hasuda b'haseba. Even if you learn like the Briskerov that it's actually machlekes rishonim, l'chayrid is a makam to say that even if we paskin like we're machmer like the Rosh that you have to eat over, we could also be machmer like the Rambam to have the l'chatchila kol hasuda. It's shaykh that we're going l'chumra. Yeah, that's a tzad that it's actually both. But here, even if you learn it's only one, l'chumra mishnei tzdadim. So we have over here machlokes rishonim. If somebody eats the matzah shaloi b'haseba, if you're yotze or not, the Shulchan Aruch paskins you're not yotze. However, the Ramah says since bizmanenu, the Rav Yah that haseba, how the Rav Yah says that we're not noyeg b'haseba, you don't need haseba. So the Ramah says you don't have to eat over. V'yesh oimim the bezman said the ein derech lo hasef gedai hu ravya lismach olav shebediyevad yatsa v'lo yaseva, which means even the rosh that says haseva is a din in matzah. However, even if it's a din in matzah, but if you don't eat haseva, so the haseva is not going to be ma'akav, even if it's part of the matzah. Just like we could understand that when these certain cases you don't eat haseva lefnei rabbi. So if you don't eat haseva, if you don't eat haseva, you don't eat haseva, and memela it's not ma'akiv. If you eat without haseva, you're yotzeh. So memela, the Rav Yosef says, if you're not noyik haseva, memela you can be yotzeh. The Mishnah Berurah says that lamaisa, it's kedai to do it over. A person should be machmer, but you don't have to. You don't have the choimer of the machaber. You have to eat over. It's kedai. Loshna. I'm sorry, it doesn't just say it's worth it. He says you should eat it over. Beloy bracha. Beloy bracha. The Bachaba says you're not yotzi. He says lamaisa kedai ulismach. You should eat it over. Beloy bracha.
So the feet of Slavi.
Do you make a bracha? I don't know. Pashtus, you should make a bracha. It says lo yotza. Lo yotza means you're not yotza. Pashtus. We have to be mavar taka. Yeah, if the svardim taka would make a bracha, but the Ramah says you don't even have to eat over. Shabur says you should eat over without a bracha. What's with afikoibin? Means matzah. It's okay. So you'll eat another kazayas matzah without a bracha. You'll eat over. You'll eat another kazayas matzah. What's with afikoimen? Afikoimen gets a little bit more complicated because technically, once you eat afikoimen, you can't eat it. You can't eat afterwards anymore. So what should you do? You should be machmer to eat another time the afikoimen. Once you finished eating the afikoimen, you're done.
You didn't eat it.
You're right, but what happens if you did eat it? No, but what happens if you did?
Counted that you didn't eat it, then you didn't eat it.
And if you were yotzeh already, you ate afikoimen. You can't just finish. You can't eat. You can't drink. So you can't eat anymore. It's a suffix. So the Mishnah Berurah says, "Umiu," it's a chaya adam. Umiu ba'afikoimen im shakach le'achloi ba'aseba. Afikoimen, if you forgot to eat it ba'aseba, lo yachsev yochlenu. Don't eat it again. Ha'asa lechol shnei pa'am afikoimen. Don't eat again the afikoimen. Because you were yotzeh, like the Ramah, you were yotzeh. Kedai you are Ravya lisvachalav. Shartzin explains v'seimchen al Ravya, and memelu you were yotzeh. Yeah, l'chayr it's pasha that the svardim would eat afikoimen again. If lo yotza is lo yotza, but if you go like the Ramah that you were yotza by matzah, you could eat again the matzah without a bracha. But afikoimen you have to eat. You can't eat afikoimen again. The shaila is. In Siman Tafai and Zayin, the Shulchan Aruch in Hilchas Afikoimen, the Siman is Dini Achilas Afikoimen. So Shulchan Aruch says, La'acha Gemar Kol Asuda, you eat Afikoimen. The Mishnah Berurah Sif Cotton Dalit says the Mishnah Berurah on the din of you eat the afikoimen behaseba. That's what we do. We eat afikoimen behaseba. Says the Mishnah Berurah, v'yochlenu behaseba ubedi evid im shakach v'achloi b'loi haseba. If a person eats the afikoimen shaloi behaseba, einoi tzarich lachsar v'lechol im kasha olav hachila. The Mishnah Berurah says you're supposed to eat the afikoimen behaseba. What happens if you forgot to eat afikoimen b'aseva? You don't have to eat over the afikoimen. You don't have to. Kasha olav, it's hard. You drank already a few kaises. You ate so much matzah. You barely got the afikoimen in. You ate it ala seva, but ala soiva. Now you're done. So you don't have to. But it's clear you definitely could. You definitely should. If you could, l'tchatchila you should. You don't have to. Ubediyevid, you don't have to. Ubediyevid, if you didn't, eino tzarech, you don't have to. Mashma that you should. It's a steerus on Mishnah Berurah. Before we saw the Mishnah Berurah says dafikoimen, you don't eat dafikoimen again because you were yotzeh. Here the Mishnah Berurah says that you don't have to, but you could. It's better to eat dafikoimen again. So what? It's a steerah. So these two terutzim, Ramosha and a tshuva and Orach Chaim Chela Gimel. Ramosha says that really you could eat the afikoimen. You could continue eating the afikoimen. Eat more of the afikoimen. But the Mishnah Berurah and Hilchas Matzah back in Leila say the Tafai and Beis is talking about you benched. or even if you didn't bench, you said Shir Amalis, my Machroinim Havlon and Avarach, you Masiach Das. Since you benched already, the problem is to wash again now. It's begeder brach shein etzricha, because could be you were yoytze already. So even though you want to be machmer and eat again another time that you come in, but if you're going to go and you're going to wash again, it's a goyim a bracha shein etzricha, and therefore you shouldn't do it. For that, we're already soymach on the Rav Yada. You're yoytze afikoyim without a seva. However, in Tafayin Zayin, you're middle of eating the afikoyim, even if you finished the afikoyim, but you didn't bench yet. Since you didn't bench, so maybe eat another kazayas. So that's how he's mayash of the Sefiras Haomer. The regular kazayas, you should definitely eat another kazayas. You should. It's maybe not it's without a bracha, but you should eat again the kazayas matzah dafikoymin, depending if dafikoymin is before benching or after benching. If you're after benching, don't wash again. But if you're before benching, eat another kazayas.
Words that he's reading, or just that's what he suggested. Like there's some wording in the two that would tell you that?
I don't think he's a chilek. I read the Lashon. Also, Rav Moshe, I have the tshuva I went through. You can see, he's machalek. You have to say they're talking about before benching and there's after benching. Reb Shlomo Zalman goes in Alicha Shleim a little bit different, and he really goes with a different svara than Rav Moshe seems to. Rav Moshe holds that if a person finished afikoyim, and you're not sure if you were yotzei afikoyim, so just eat another afikoyim. There's no problem. There's no problem because maybe you were yotzei eating more. Eat more afikoyim. Rabbi Shlomo Zalman says the chiluk in the two Mishnah Brewers are if you're still in the middle. I don't know if it means if you're still holding a piece of afikoyim, but if you're still eating the afikoyim and then you continue, then you ate afikoyim shaloi b'aseba. You're still in the middle, so now eat another kazayas b'aseba. But once you finish, you're done. You finished eating. What exactly means finished, I don't know. But finished means you're done. You finished eating. Yeah, very good. You stood up already. You went not before my machroinim even. You finished eating and you started. You said a dvar. You moved on from the achila of the afikoyim. Yeah, you moved on. So mamela. You see, Masiach Das really goes into the shayla. Could be you have to make a bracha again. That's what Rav Moshe's machalek. Rav Moshe says if you Masiach Das, you said Shir Amalis. Could be you mean a hesach hadas, not a hesach hadas of eating, but you of the afikoyim means you didn't like Lamosh. You allowed to drink water afterwards. He's saying you Masiach Das from eating the afikoyim, but you didn't finish the meal yet. You're still going to drink more water for another half hour. But Chahai Gavna, Lefira Moshe, you could still continue the afikoyim. Shlomo Zalman says no. Once you're done with afikoyim, don't eat another afikoyim. But if you're not done, you should eat it again because you didn't eat it past seba. So just to be masakim, we had that the haseba zeichel lecheres, the tzura is with a table as well. And is it part of the achilas matzah? Seems to be a machlokes rishonim, two tzaddim, and the machaber goes that it's part of the achilas matzah. The Ramah says the other tzad as well. There are those that learn. Elia mentioned that, and Rabbi Shia also, that both are true. These are din of haseba, and there's also a din that the haseba should be in the achilas matzah. Both are true, and then we see that for the matzah itself, the din is at least machaber. You should mamash do it over. Amos says do it over without a bracha. When it comes to afikoyim, it's not so clear, but it seems that if you're already completely done, either you benched or you Masiach Das, then you shouldn't eat another kazayas afikoyim. But if you're still in the middle, or if you didn't bench yet, then you should eat over the kazayas afikoyim b'aseba. Have a wonderful Shabbos.
Sounds like they're saying the same thing.